Welcome back. Our next guest thought she had it all. A high-flying career with a wage packet to match. She was busy making her way to the top of the IT ladder.
Yes, but the success came at a price, with constant pressure, incredible stress and damage to her personal relationships, which is why Maria Sweeney decided to quit the rat race. Maria, you've brought a little guest on this morning. Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
To you
Bonnie.
and to Bonnie. Can we talk about, because this article in the Irish Independent generated a chat amongst our team here, and we were quite fascinated by the whole story, weren't we? Take us back to the high-flying career, to your typical day, what you were doing.
I suppose the last year of it before I left the corporate world was probably the worst in terms of the hours and the what you had to do and the commitment that was required. So it was an American software company, and they were based in the IFSC, and I was commuting out from Greystones every day. So it was a startup over here. 10 of us were brought on initially to start up the European headquarters.
Yeah.
So we were dealing with clients all over the world. So it was like the UK, but Europe, and then Australia, and our bosses were obviously in the US.
Yeah.
So there was all these different time zones you had to be contending with. So I'd typically be up at I'd get into the office maybe about 7 o'clock to start making calls to Australia or the Far East.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'd sort of focus on the Europe side of things in the morning. Then you'd work through your lunch, or they'd bring in lunch, you know, so that you don't actually take lunch breaks. It's like, oh, we've got free food, come, help yourselves, but bring it back to your desk.
And keep going.
Yeah, exactly, so we'd, obviously the afternoons then would be working with clients in our time zone, and then we'd have evening meetings with the guys in the States who are only coming online at that kind of time.
Okay.
They were based over in Boston. So
their day is starting then,
exactly,
of course.
Yeah. So it's it was very full on, but it wasn't even that. It was more. It wasn't even that when you went home, you went home. It was constantly you're always on.
Were the calls following you home, or were you just thinking about work at home?
Well, it's mobiles, isn't it? It's so your emails are constant, and when you're working in sales, you're working for yourself. You're constantly looking to generate revenue. Yeah. So you're always checking, is there something, is there an email in? It's like, the way kids could check Facebook or Instagram, whatever, constantly see how many likes they have, see what the engagement is. It's the same with emails coming in from clients.
And I believe there was a day when you were at a festival and you found yourself sitting in a tent on a Sunday. Which is,
that's right, yeah. So it was the Isle of Wight festival, and we'd been there for a few days, so it was a little worse for wear come the Sunday. But I was working this particularly big deal at that time, and it was with an Israeli client. And their working week starts on a Sunday. So I had this email in from the guy I was dealing with, and he needed something done ASAP. So I could have ignored it, but you couldn't. You couldn't. So I spent that whole day sitting in the tent, really expensive, overpriced tent that was not getting its value's worth. And I sat there spending the whole day hunched over my phone. Everybody else was out enjoying themselves. Yeah. Blondie was on the stage. The sun was shining, and the evening came around, and I'd done what I needed to do from the work perspective. But I had no interest in going out at that point, and I just thought, God, that's actually really sad. The whole thing, it's over now. The weekend's over, and I've just missed it all for the sake of,
Was that the tipping point, or was there another one?
That was one of them. That was definitely an eye-opener for me. There was a couple of kind of aha moments where I said, this... life was becoming something that, thank you, that had to just be endured. There was no enjoyment. It was just...
you're bumping off friends for meetings, for work.
And they become an inconvenience.
And taking Prozac or Valium or things like that to get you through.
Yeah, anything and everything just to keep you switched on.
And when you're in that situation, Maria, your body is in a constant state of alertness, adrenaline being pumped in, cortisol, which is what comes with it as well. And so depression, anxiety, they're only a heartbeat away from that.
Absolutely. And there's so many people who are suffering the exact same thing.
Yes.
They don't want to put a label on it, let's say, or they don't want to say, well, I'm not a depressed person, I don't have depression or anxiety, I'm just under pressure from work, I'm stressed. But stress naturally leads to depression and anxiety.
Yeah, and the way stress is designed by the body is something that happens for a short period of time to get you out of a particular situation.
Yeah,
there's a saber-toothed tiger chasing down and you run away from, then it goes away.
Yes.
But in the world you're describing, it never leaves.
No.
So you burn out.
Exactly, you burn out. And I think a lot of people get to that point without even realising it, but they're just running to stand still. They're constantly fighting this battle of trying to get up in the morning and do what they need to do at work and
but sometimes, Maria, it's because I don't want to run out of time on the really fun bit at the end. Sometimes it's a very close family member who knows you very well, who asks you a very honest question, and it all comes crumbling down.
Right.
So I was walking to work one morning, and I was like at the height of just the pits of despair at this stage. And it's my sister who lives in London, my older sister. And she knew, like, she has a sixth sense. She knows when there's something wrong with me. She knew I was under pressure at the time, particularly. And she just sent me a message that morning and she said, "Are you okay?" And for the first time, I'd have always said, "Yeah, Grant, don't be annoying me. Don't ask me any questions. I'm not going to get into any of this." And for the first time, I just looked at her and I went, "No, like, I'm really not." And I just burst into tears in the middle of the street. And I said, "No, I'm not." And she rang me straight away and she was like, "You know, you can't keep doing this to yourself. Why are you doing it?" I said, because I have to. I can't leave it behind. I can't fail. I can't drop it. I have to persevere with it and make it work and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, "Look, there's so much more to life. You know, what do you love about life?" And I was like, "Nothing." And she said, "Come on, you must love something. Like, what do you love?" And I was like, "Nothing. I only love dogs." She was like, "Dogs? That's all I like. I don't like anything else." And she was like, "Okay, well, is there nothing else you could think of that you'd want to do if you had a magic wand?" I was like, "No, just dogs." She was like, "Okay, well, maybe we can do something with that." She was like, "Look, at the end of the day," she said, "this is not worth it. You go in there, put on your game face for today, call me when you get home, and we'll work out a plan as to what to do. But you're getting out of there." And it was like, I was just like, oh my God, the relief. Yeah. It was like, literally like a truck had been driven off of my chest that had been there.
Lifted.
Yeah. And suddenly there was this like glimmer of hope that, oh my God, maybe actually I can get out of this and this doesn't have to be my life anymore. So I went home and I rang her that night and we just started like brainstorming things, what we could do with dogs. And I'd always said I'd love to, if I had loads of money, open a rescue shelter and just take in all the waifs and strays. You know, every dog lover's dream. And she was like, "Okay, that's lovely, but it's not, it's not very financially viable." So I looked into things like dog training and various things, and then I was like, grooming, oh my God, hairdressing and dogs. Like, do you know, like the
two of my favourite things.
Yeah, making them pretty.
So I just looked into kind of how you'd go about becoming a dog groomer and all that, and courses you can do. And I just, over the next few days, handed in my notice.
Handed in your notice.
Retrained.
Oh, I love him. That's Kerry. He's the cutest dog in the world.
And then you opened up your own, not a doggy, it's kind of a salon.
It's a salon, yeah. So the idea was it was like luxury dog grooming. So somewhere like we would go to a spa for the day. The dogs go for their beauty treatments and essential grooming.
A full blow dry.
Oh yeah, totally.
They seem to be lovely. And business is good?
Business is great. I'm so lucky. I can't tell you how fortunate I've been in terms of how it all just worked out. When you decide to do something and you open yourself up to it and you throw yourself into something that you really love, like, it's incredible what can happen.
Maria, a friend of mine says that the graveyards are full of irreplaceable people. Right, so if you're in your job and you're stressed out and you can't handle it anymore, you know what? The world won't fall apart if you leave. If you go and pursue your dreams. But what you're saying,
you think it will.
Yeah, exactly.
You think it will.
You think it will.
In this day and age, so many people are so stressed, are in this situation you found yourself in 3-4 years ago. Yeah. And now look at you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so
but
there's life,
I have to say, I'm sure if everybody was given the opportunity to do something that they love, they would take it. But it's not easy for everyone.
It's bravery though as well.
It is, but it's also like I was very lucky in the situation that I was in.
Stage of life you're at.
Exactly. You know, I didn't have kids and a mortgage. I had the freedom to be able to take this risk, and if it failed, for it not to impact. Have such a snowball effect. A lot of people don't have that luxury, and I've had loads of people email me since I wrote the article just to say, you know, I'm really envious. I would love to do something like this, but I just can't.
It's not possible right now.
You're an inspiration, okay? So, there is a way out of it no matter what situation you're in.
There is. It just may not be now for some people, but,
So Vanity Fair, love the name, by the way.
Very clever.
Continued success.
Thank you.
And we feared Bonnie might be a bit hyper, but Bonnie is
I think
happy
she's
out.
all right.
Thank you very much, Maria.
Thanks a million, guys.
Thanks, Maria.